I like it. He wasn't their first choice, obviously. They were trying to get Godwin in there, younger, more production as of late. I understand that. But you get Stefon Diggs, the guy coming off injury, we all know. His track record, though, for me, when you're dealing with a young quarterback and you can get in the huddle as a young quarterback and you have a guy like Stefon Diggs who you can look in the huddle when you're calling a play and you can see in his eyes, okay, he's going to make a play for me. That just gives you confidence. Regardless of what we feel like his production will be throughout the entirety of the year, you got to have somebody where your quarterback can look in that huddle and believe in and then have a level of confidence to where when he's calling those plays and running those plays, I know I got a guy that I can turn into my safety.
Is there any concern that there will be different huddles where things are going swimmingly and other guys are doing stuff and he looks into Stefon's eyes and his eyes say, you better give me the ball? Is there any concern about that?
Well, that's not.
Okay.
You want that. Like, what receiver doesn't want the ball? And I think Stefon Diggs gets a bad rap when it comes to that because every receiver has that give me the ball type of mentality. Everyone doesn't always voice it and show it. He just happens to voice it and show it, but he's always backed it up. Nobody talks about him being a bad teammate. It's all in passion. It's all because he wants to win. I get it. Sometimes it looks and feels like receiver diva and he just wants his numbers, but he produces. And when we saw him in Houston last year, when they acquired him, we all thought, he's going to be the number 3 guy.
He kind of was.
No, he kind of wasn't. Tank Dell did not have a great year prior to him getting hurt. Stefon Diggs played like he was their number 2 guy. And when Nico was out, he sometimes was the number 1 guy.
Well, listen, because of injury, he got elevated. Yeah, I understand. But he was a very good slot possession player. Like 13 yards per catch, 11 yards per catch, 10.5 yards per catch, and torn ACL now. That's my concern, that we have a player on the significant downslope coming off an injury.
You think that is, I understand the ACL, but just going back, the Bills' offense changed and his numbers were depressed. You thought that was his.
Well, what about the Texans' offense?
Well, then it's a new offense.
No, but that Texans' offense is not dink and dunk offense. The whole reason we fell in love with C.J. Stroud was because he was taking deep over the middle.
Yeah, but he came in and he fit into a role in that offense.
Yeah, right. And I guess my point is, if the role was still I'm number 1 receiver caliber, I think he would have had, certainly when Nico Collins was out and Tank Dell was coming back from an injury, number 1 receiver type of production. It's just not what I saw.
Okay. Well, first off, that O-line was such a mess, and so it was so hard to get the ball to the receivers kind of in the first place. They didn't, you couldn't even have plays develop in the ways that you would even, want them to do. To use the Texans year as a reference point too, honestly makes no sense because that was a mess from the jump for the Houston Texans. It's just the reality. And again, I was super high on the Texans and wanted to see them be better. And they just could never, put it together, quite frankly, just even from an execution standpoint. So to kind of put that on Diggs seems kind of, pretty absurd to me. And again, this whole idea, you're not signing Diggs at this point to be this number 1 wide receiver, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's just going to be an absolute monster on the field. That's not what you're getting him for at this point. And kind of to kind of build off of what Greg Jennings was saying, because Greg is obviously, looking at it from an ex-wide receiver perspective, which is going to be a very specific perspective and obviously, should be listened to, but it's still going to be like very, very specific because that's the lens that he's looking at it through. And, he's kind of saying, oh, it's great for Drake Maye to have someone in the huddle who you can look in the eyes and say, I know he's going to make a play. And I think that's obviously true to a degree, but I think it's more than that. It's also, and I kind of said this a little bit before, where it's like, it's just also knowing that you have some guy in the huddle that actually knows what they're doing, that knows, that understands the plays, understands the flow of an NFL game, that understands, how to play wide receiver at a high level. Someone who you can start to develop, some high quality levels of understanding and communication that's needed between a quarterback and a wide receiver. That is, you're just going to be able to achieve higher levels with someone who's an actual veteran. I think I get it. We love people who are obviously put up awesome numbers, who are great, who are electric, who are, in their physical prime, etc., etc. I get it. I do. But there is such an underappreciation for experience and being a veteran. There's a reason. The Eagles are just honestly filled with so many examples, specifically because they obviously just won a Super Bowl, but keeping someone even like a Darius Slay, who at this point is an old man, like he'll be the first one to admit it, like he is an old man at this point. He referred to the young guys like as his children, like literally, again, that's his words, not mine. Cooper DeJean and Mitchell, and he's like, they're my sons, my kids, like I'm the old man out there. And in terms of his physicality and what he's able to bring, it's nowhere near what it once was 5, 6, however many years ago. But he's so important to that defense because of his experience, because of his veteranship, because of his deep, deep, deep understanding of what you need to do on defense, and because he can speak the deep, deep language with his defensive coordinator, Fangio. That matters. That matters. You would be better to have someone like a Darius Slay on the field who's maybe lost a step or two, but has the experience and knows what needs to be done for and be an extension of Fangio to a degree, compared to then if you had someone who was a lot younger, but maybe faster, stronger, but lacked some of the experience, and these things need to be balanced out. And when you have such a young quarterback too, who's being obviously developed, who I really believe was a punt year last year, just getting someone who truly knows what they're doing on the field, it just matters a tremendous amount. And it's more than just, I need someone to make a play and this, it's more than that. And like I also said in one of my previous videos, it also just helps even just in practices. Like it just helps. Getting leadership and a veteran matters. And we talk about all the stuff with the Texans. People seem to forget, one, how great he was during the offseason with the Texans, during preseason practices, etc. As well as, if you want to say that his production went down, he wasn't a diva last year. He wasn't causing problems. He wasn't doing anything, negative. Again, he got injured and it was unfortunate. But like, again, to kind of say, oh, look at his numbers going down and this, that, it's like everybody's numbers were going down with the Houston Texans. Like nobody was looking right with the Houston Texans. That offense was a mess, and that O-line was a mess. And CJ Stroud was uncomfortable the entire season. So, if you're going to reference the negative with what happened with Stefon Diggs in Houston, well, then you also have to reference the positive. And again, you also have to understand what are the expectations and what are you expecting to achieve with Diggs and the Patriots. If you're expecting him to be like an A.J. Brown acquisition or a C.D. Lamb or Justin Jefferson, then yes, you are going to be significantly let down, right? You are. But if you're expecting him to just, help stabilize this offense, give it some sort of personality, give it some sort of confidence and competence, well, then that's exactly what you can expect. And that's going to help out everything else within the offense. So, but those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about with Stefon Diggs for Drake Maye? His Stefon Diggs' impact on Drake Maye and this, New England Patriots offense as a whole. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. This really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.